because I think obviously as an individual reseller, you need to keep your costs to an absolute minimum, right? And not try and overcommit. I think particularly when your income is not guaranteed, like overstretching yourself is is a really dangerous game, I think. Obviously you want to expand as much, but I think you need to do it in a really conservative way. I think something else that is worth exploring, like I always told you, or I thought it'd be a really cool idea, but I think there's potentially some pitfalls, would almost be like forming a cooperative of resellers.
Yeah.
So let's say you had like 3 or 4 other resellers in your area, and we said, look, why don't we all commit to getting this space together? We've split the rent 4 ways, and we've got combined storage units. We'll each have our individual eBay accounts and work in it, and you could almost de-risk yourself by having 4 accounts, 4 incomes covering this. So if you had a bad month, well, it doesn't matter, and it would be dangerous because you would need to make sure that there's the same level of commitment into it. But I think there might be something in that if you trusted people enough. If there was a group that worked, I think that wouldn't be a bad way to de-risk the situation.
I've even thought of that. Like, I mean, I've even like printed a with my logo on the door, look, just to kind of. Yeah. Anyway, I have thought about that, like collaborating with other resellers in the area to kind of. It's just a thought, like you've just had, really, that would you could have. I mean, if a lockup was, I don't know, £1,000 a month or something like that, 250 quid each is probably not a bad price to have a bigger area.
Yeah.
More knowledge in the room, essentially. And an office space that you could all work from if you needed to, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. I got to head off, guys. I got to get ready. I'll speak to you all later.
Indeed. And next week I'll have more questions, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
It's all right. Interesting chat. I'll see you all later. Bye.
Yeah. See you, Sophie.
Bye.
Oh, I can't leave. There we go.
You can't leave. Bye. But now ultimately there are a few like resellers around here that I have spoken to and seen that I kind of, but I think they're all like low key and don't really have the hunger to expand.
Yeah, so it's obviously dependent. It would need to be fleshed out, but I think it's a good idea. I mean, as you say, like if you split a rental 2, 3, 4 ways, assuming you found that group of people, which is obviously the main hurdle, I think there's some real benefits to it, and the costs of small scale storage rental are like pretty prohibitive, right? Unless you have your own garage. Moving out, if you go and speak to like a Big Yellow or any of those type storage companies, to have somewhere that's like, they're not great, they're not typically in good locations. So yeah, I think
they have quite
I'm surprised because I thought
working from there.
Yeah, exactly, right. Whereas I think if you actually had some sort of commercial lease that you could de-risk yourself from in terms of sharing it, I think that would be a really positive. I mean, I think where I am, it's probably too rural an area to find enough people to do it. But I'm surprised at Cambridge, because I thought Cambridge would probably host, a decent number of resellers, given that it's a fairly large place, right? And
I mean, I think the idea that I had as well is that storage place could be open to the public 1 or 2 days a week. So essentially, you would, all your clothes or whatever you're selling would be on hangers or whatever, and then you would, in that area, which obviously could be marked out, then you would buy from that person and buy from that person. Now they would each have like a sum up account or whatever, and all one desk too. You would go to leave, and then you would write down what it was, and then you divvy out that at the end of the day.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Well, yeah, I guess it depends on the usage of the unit. If it had like a commercial usage as a retail shop as well, that would be super, because between 3 or 4 of you, you assume that there's gonna be someone in the building at most times to kind of quote unquote man the shop. And even if it's as Sophie was saying, there's loads of stuff like when you get into clothing, right? You end up with those bits that you just can't get rid of on eBay, and you could even just load, separate out the front of the unit as we'll put loads of stuff on racks here, and it will be a £10 a kilo, or undercutting the pre-loved or the by the kilo sellers, and then you'd invite people to come and just take, buy by the kilo or the bag or the bale or whatever, and you could have an outlet for the kind of crap you're not shifting on eBay.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think, another, I think, real good benefit of operating in that kind of model would be you could justify some of the other expenses that probably seem like a bit of a luxury as a solo reseller. Things like daily Royal Mail collection. I mean, can you imagine, or whoever it is, but obviously there's a fee associated with Royal Mail.
Yeah,
I remember a couple of years ago it was about £1,000 a year. Well, if you split that 4 ways and you never had to go and deliver postage again because Royal Mail came to you and just took a bag of postage away, think about the time saved in that.
Wow, yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be so much longer than, it takes me about 20 minutes to get to the post office to every drop off and back in.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And when I'm booking Royal Mail, there's no charge for collection. Is that because I've got a personal account, not a business account with Royal Mail?
Yeah, I think they're trying to incite a little bit of collection, or they certainly have been pushing that the last sort of year.
Yeah.
I think they've introduced a charge now, but it's really small. I think it might be like 50p on top, obviously because your postie is coming round and they're doing the rounds. But if you, as like a business, if you want to have a regular collection, I think you can book them either 5, like the working days, or 7-day. There is an annual charge for that, but you get a preferential postage rate. Obviously you don't pay that, whatever it is, 50p a charge, and I think you get a slightly better rate that's probably akin to what you get if you get a franking machine. And you need to be sending, I think, I can't remember, I remember doing the math back on it some time ago, looking at whether it was worth it, but you need to be sending at least sort of somewhere between 5 and 10 parcels a day to make it worth your while. But obviously there's a time saved element to that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it was even when I was sort of in the 4,000 to 5,000 90-day mark, I was like probably half where that needed to be, so it was never going to be viable for me. But I think there's something in it just from a time save point of view, because like I know there's things like the drop-off service at the post office, just the drop and goes, but like it drives me nuts. Like there's nothing worse than queuing up and dropping off your parcels at the post office to get your proof of postage, and that is like the whole postage is the worst.